Okay, this popular YouTuber was accused of kidnapping two women. I heard of him on TikTok or news from TikTok. His name is Coreyssg. I don't know what's going on. They said he took him to the airport, then said, "Yeah, hey, y'all gotta do some, otherwise get out the car."
A popular YouTuber once known for his family vlogging.
Look, we'll go there. Come on. Can't get over here.
He seemed like cool people.
Is now accused of kidnapping two women. But the story doesn't end there. Authorities say the Texas-based content creator fled the United States by booking a one-way ticket and hopping on a nearly 20-hour flight all the way to the Middle East. So how did a man with millions of social media followers end up charged with aggravated kidnapping? Well, it all began on November 22nd. That's when a woman exchanged numbers with 26-year-old Corey Pritchett Jr. The woman told authorities the following day she and another woman met up with Pritchett. They did some pretty harmless activities like working out, ATV riding, then bowling. But it was at the bowling alley where things took an intense turn. While there, the two women felt like something was off when Pritchett and his two friends started acting strange. The women told police they were repeatedly looking around, seemed on edge, and were acting suspicious. The unnamed women told police they learned Pritchett and his friends were having issues with another group that was there at the bowling alley. So they reportedly told Pritchett if he continued acting that way, he should just leave with his friends. Pritchett in turn stepped out with his friends, but never returned, leaving the women behind. After some time, the women texted him because they left their stuff in his car. So he asked them to meet at the H-E-B grocery store parking lot to get their stuff back. When the two women showed up, he switched gears and offered to drive them home, and they said yes. But according to the women, Pritchett flipped the script once again. During that drive, he reportedly began acting erratically and skipped what was supposed to be the route to drop them off. The women say Pritchett claimed someone was after him and started making phone calls. Then Pritchett began driving at
Claims someone was after him.
high speeds, going past 100 miles per hour. The women claim he pulled out a gold-colored handgun and started waving it around the sunroof while still driving erratically fast, then began firing off rounds out of the car window. One of the women reportedly told Pritchett to take her back to her apartment and try to calm him down by asking him to pray with them. But
he really started firing rounds.
He still continued driving crazy fast down the I-10 highway. Pritchett then made a video call to a woman reportedly saved in his phone under future wife. He asked the woman on the call, "If I had the perfect opportunity and was in the middle of nowhere where no one could hear them scream, should I just go ahead and do it?" And the woman on the line reportedly responded,
"Nowhere."
Yes. For the women in Pritchett's car, though, they were seemingly in fear of their lives.
So no one could hear him scream.
Pritchett told them, "I'm gonna F y'all and then kill y'all." By this point, the women said they were texting one another during all of this, but authorities say Pritchett then started pointing the gun at them and took their phones away so they couldn't communicate with each other. According to police, Pritchett then pulled off the highway onto the shoulder of I-10 near Sealy, Texas. Seemingly with a change of heart, he told the women to get out of his car, telling them this is your only opportunity. One of the women said she tried to get her phone back but wasn't able to. Then Pritchett drove off, leaving them stranded on the side of the road at night.
He took her phone.
They spent more than an hour along the side of the highway before they were able to flag down a driver.
He took both of their phones so they couldn't call the police. Then, an hour later, I heard part of the story. So an hour later, when as they were walking down the highway, an hour later, someone picked them up and asked them where they needed a ride to. Someone gave them a ride and let them. The women asked to use their phone, and that person in the car, the driver, let them use their phone to call the police or something.
Driver who called 911. But clues pieced together by investigators would help corroborate the story. One of the women had the Life 360 app on her phone, and screenshots, which included timestamps and the route they took, supported the victim's story of what happened. Pritchett was ID'd through his driver's license and social media pages. But when investigators reached out to him, his phone was no longer in service. Instead, they found out through TikTok that he was planning to move to Dubai.
I moved to Dubai. The people that's wondering. Feels so good out here. My kids, listen. So I'm having more kids, right? With my future wife, for sure. And Aiden. My kids are gonna.
You ain't gonna get no wife doing shit like that if she hear about this story on the news.
Be homeschooled, bro.
You ain't gonna get no wife fucking and killing girls, man.
A lot of y'all not paying attention because a lot of y'all sleep, and the news outlets are not speaking on a lot of shit that's going on there. It's gonna get real over there. Y'all might think I'm lying. Y'all might think I'm just talking. Y'all seen other people probably saying it. But you know, people don't believe until the shit hit the fan. That's one thing I noticed about most people in the United States. They want to party, ha ha ha, live life, ha ha ha, until they hit the fan. When they hit the fan, and
You know,
everybody like,
you
oh,
like
they
to
want
do
to
that
scatter.
party and
No.
shit
But
too.
according to the FBI, they confirmed Pritchett bought a
Talk about some
one-way ticket to
fucking, you know, you like
Qatar
to
on
party and
December
fuck.
9th. A little more than 2 weeks later after buying that one-way plane ticket, Pritchett was officially charged on December 26th with 1 count of aggravated kidnapping. I want to give a huge thanks to you, our viewers, and our amazing sponsors like Upside. Upside is a super cool
Okay.
and free. Use Upside to get cash back
No,
app and get paid. You can use Upside
no,
app. Gallon on still
no, no.
continues to post on social media.
Okay.
On January 4th, he posted an article from Houston news station KPRC, along with the caption, "Letter to the internet, it's finna be a ball. Let the show begin, hashtag Houston, Texas. Let me show you how to take monsters down the hashtag smooth way. You see it says accused, right? Don't worry, LOL. I'm finna give you the details on here and in the court of law. They gonna regret effing with me like I'm just some goofy or some. Oh, and I got the best lawyer in Houston." A day later, he posted a video with the victims as they were ATV riding.
He
That
ain't gonna win
video
the
was
case.
captioned tagging Houston PD as he wrote in part, "We
Funny
have a case
when
here
dudes
of
be
popular
posting shit like
YouTuber
that and still lose the
Coreyssg
case.
kidnapping 2 white girls, and he's currently on the run in Dubai, I think.
2 white
IDK, but
girls.
yeah, the FBI should be after
He
him."
like them
A
snow
pretty
bunnies,
wild
them
case
white
that is now
girls.
ranging across 2 completely different countries that are thousands of miles away from one another. So let's bring on retired FBI agent Colin Schmidt to get his thoughts on this. Colin, thank you so much for joining me today. What is your reaction to this case, from Pritchett's alleged erratic behavior to trapping these 2 women allegedly in his car and leaving them stranded on the side of the road, then later fleeing off to Qatar?
Well, I think the first thing for investigators is kind of look at the totality of the circumstances and look at the big picture, as well as look at credibility of who the complainants are, as well as what's really going on here between these 2 people, and that's based upon the recent instances of YouTubers or bloggers or social media influencers faking their own kidnappings. So to prevent a waste of resources, they have to just take a step back and kind of look at the big picture. And then, of course, if there is some merit to this, then they're going to have to kind of dig in and find out exactly what really went on between these 2.
And investigators also say that, GPS data from Life 360, which was an app that was on one of the women's phones, that helped corroborate their story. Talk to me about how investigators use that type of data to kind of piece together, or at least verify these types of allegations.
Well, in this case, the victim made it easy
SSG.
for law
I
enforcement
don't
to
know
track
him,
her
but
because they did have the Life
he
360
don't seem
app
like
on
the
there.
type
I'm
of dude
familiar
to
with
hang
the
out
app.
with
It's
females.
fantastic. And I have used it with my kids as well. So if that wasn't on there, the first step with all these cases, and even if it's a bank robbery or a fraud case, is going to be the phones, and to look in to see if there's any GPS data, tracking data in that phone, to find out and to corroborate what the victim is saying that the assailant did.
Yeah, and it's also, unclear right now, but from what we do know now, do you think the erratic behavior on Pritchett's behalf might have been someone actually after him, as he had told these women allegedly? Or do you think there's another reason, possibly like drugs, that kind of made him act erratically during this whole incident?
Well, with the limited information, available, you'd be speculating on why he was acting so erratic. So when somebody's acting erratic, there's a catalyst or some sort of antecedent that make them do that. So either it's something internal or external, and that's one thing that's going to come out, so to speak, in the wash as the investigators do their investigation and start talking to people and find out why he was behaving in such an odd manner. And then the fact that he fled to Qatar, which is kind of an unusual country to go to, because of it. I doubt he speaks Arabic. Does he have some sort of connection to that country?
Yeah, and I was also, going to ask you what your thoughts are on him
He
fleeing
doesn't care.
to
He's just going to
Qatar.
get
What
away,
all goes into
to be
extraditing
honest.
a kidnapping suspect? And in your opinion, how long do you think it'll take before he's actually back in the United States?
Well, first thing is, if we have extradition with Qatar, I'm not aware whether we do or don't for that particular crime, because extradition is crime specific. Some crimes are extraditable, some aren't. And then the extradition process is generally very long, and takes at least a year to 2 years. Generally, what the authorities do is they just have the country expel or deport the person that's there. It's a much
Or
faster process.
Of course.
unless the person has some sort of citizenship with that country. And I doubt this gentleman
Yeah, the
has any
US gotta have
citizenship
some
with
type of
Qatar.
connection to them, like he
And do you
said.
think that trip was planned this whole time, or do you think he kind of did it as an escape to escape those now criminal charges that he's facing? Because I can't imagine,
I
leaving your children behind to go
think
start
he did
a
it
new
now to
life in a
escape
completely
the
different country
charges.
and just, leave them behind in Texas.
Well, if he was going to Mexico, I would say there wasn't a lot of thought put into it because obviously it's just right over the border. But to take an international flight, I mean, you have to fly through an international hub, whether it be Houston or Los Angeles or New York, and then make a couple of connections to get to Qatar. So, and then, of course, the flight itself is pretty expensive, and then there is going to be some scrutiny on him on when he lands through the authorities there in Qatar. So there had to be some sort of planning to go into it because, like I said, he's just not driving his car over the border going down to Mexicali. He's going
He did
to
it right
a foreign
as the
country,
criminal
and it's
charges got
approximately an 18-hour flight.
got set on
Yeah,
him.
and booking that one-way ticket as well too. I can't even imagine kind of going back to this alleged crime as well. Can't imagine what it was like for these two women who were stranded on that highway until they were able to flag down a driver who eventually called 911 and then authorities arrived as well too. But, kind of going back to the overall alleged offense in this case, what do you kind of make of just leaving two women stranded on a highway and then just again fleeing off to a completely different country?
Well, that tells me that there wasn't much thought put into this. It sounds more like this was an impulse crime. He was reacting to some sort of uh, something maybe the women had done to him, or
Yeah,
vice
he reacted
versa.
to this
And this
by
was reaction,
fleeing.
and he didn't think it through. And then I think finally it kind of dawned on him that what he had done is basically going to land him in jail. And he essentially panicked, kicked him out or put him on the side of the road, and then obviously left the country. So he's definitely has a lot going on inside his head, and this case is only going to probably get stranger as the investigators dig in.
Yeah, and you mentioned something earlier in our discussion, just about his whole social media persona, which is kind of another added layer to this whole entire story. Pritchett has millions of followers across different social media platforms, but then you tack on this alleged
He
behavior and
pointed,
this alleged
he said he was
or
gonna
this crime as well
fuck
too.
them
What do you make of all of
and
that, given
kill
that he
them.
was this kind of apparent rise
Hmm.
on social media, and
What?
then he
Who
got kind of
says that?
famous as well too,
I
doing
thought that was
family
only on
content,
Pornhub
and
where
then
they
for
F
this to
them and
kind of
kill them. I
come
didn't
out,
know
what do
that
you make
was.
of just kind of that Jekyll
I
and
didn't know
Hyde
humans say.
situation that we're
I
kind of
didn't know
seeing all
humans say
unfold?
all that.
Well, that's from where
I didn't
I
know real
started with
life
this, that
humans
because of his social media presence,
say
law
that
enforcement is
stuff.
going to have to kind of dig in
Wow,
and kind of
kill them.
determine
That's what
what
I'm
the
more
motive behind this
really
was.
worried
Maybe
about.
maybe he had no intent of
Kill
harming
them.
these women. He was just doing this for the classic clicks, or like I said, he had something going on in his life that made him panic. But it seems like there's such in society, and there's such a intense pressure to get quote unquote clicks, that we see these social media people doing some amazingly stupid and abhorrent things. And frankly, I think law enforcement and the society as a whole is really kind of getting tired of it, and the hammer is starting to fall on these people for their behaviors.
Clickbait.
Now, say Pritchett makes it
Clicks.
back to the United States, he's facing this
No, he's
kidnapping
not doing it
charge.
just for the
How
clicks.
long of a
He's doing it
potential
because he actually
sentence or
wants to do
punishment
it. And
do you
that's what
think
I
that he could
think.
be facing
Oh no,
now?
or he could be doing it for the
Well, if the
clicks,
federal
like
authorities get
a
involved,
video that he
believe
records.
it's
Most
a
likely he did record it.
you could
So
get up to life in
if he
prison for
records,
kidnapping. So
if he recorded
depending on
that
the
video,
circumstances and
he
if it's
was
provable,
planning on
in
doing it.
this case, he didn't take the victims over state lines. So
Y'all, if he was recording that video, he was literally planning on doing it. I see what it means for the clicks. Yes, it most likely was for the clicks, cause like some like bringing two girls in my car or something. Yeah, that's one of them for the clicks. He's trying to. Oh my God, trying to get that money,
there's an
money.
argument that it's
He's
not a
trying to
federal
get that,
crime. However,
engagement.
there is a kidnapping statute in Texas. So, and Texas has a pretty aggressive law enforcement culture there. So he's going to be facing some jail time if it turns out that this was legitimate kidnapping, and these women are willing to testify.
All right. Well, Colin, I want to thank you so much for joining me.
Right, y'all. That's it for today's video. That was a crazy um case. His name is Corey SSG. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, hit the bell, follow my Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch.